Welcome everybody. This is Dr. Heather Yost with Yost Wellness Center. I'm excited that you're here to join us today for our presentation, Are You Thriving or Are You Just Surviving? If you do want to get a copy of today's notes and resources, please do text Thriving to 38470. That's Thriving to 38470. And we will go ahead and get started. This will be at the end too. So I want to start by talking about you personally, because I know if you don't believe that health comes from the inside out, if you're hoping that your doctor or your friend, your family member, your mom, your dad, your preacher is going to actually correct you or fix your health, or you're making excuses, living in a land of procrastination or waiting for the perfect time to get healthier, to make those changes that you know you need to make, I know you're not thriving. I know that a lot of people come to classes, workshops, webinars like this, and they think, finally someone is going to tell me what to do. Finally, I'm going to get the motivation that I need to make these changes. Finally, someone is going to point me in the right direction. And what I don't have for you today is I don't have a magic bullet. I don't have a quick fix. But what I do have is I'm going to lay out in front of you an opportunity to learn about what true health is, what true health care is, the pitfalls of the current healthcare delivery system, and most importantly, how you can protect this asset of yours, your health, because it's a vehicle that you only get one of them. You don't get to replace it. So before we get started though, can I tell you a story? 5 years ago, I was running a very high volume chiropractic practice, multi-doctor chiropractic practice, doing what I love, living my dream, going to work every single day, loving taking care of other people and helping them live their best life. I have 3 beautiful, healthy children. I have a wonderful husband, a great relationship, and a wonderful family. And we had, it was always my dream to find a home sort of near the office that felt like the country. I grew up on a farm and I wanted trees in the backyard, and I wanted a lot of them. So we had previously been in a newer development where the trees were the size of twigs, and there was no way you could climb it, much less have even a picnic or get any shade under it. And so I found this home, and it had all these trees in the backyard. In fact, it was in the city, but it had so many trees that my children could run naked in the backyard if they wanted to, and nobody would even know. So it felt like everything was perfect, and moved into the home. And within a couple of months, if you remember June of about 2014, it was a really rainy June, and as the rain started coming, it not only came down on the house, but it came in the house in multiple locations. And as rain comes in, you open up the walls and the drywall, to let the rain come through, and lo and behold, we found black mold or stachybococcus. So we did what everybody does. You remedy it, you bring in the professionals and they clean it up, and we searched for other areas of mold, and we did everything we could to protect this home that we loved. And about 6 months later, I started having joint pain. And it was in like my sternum and up and through my neck and my middle back. And within a couple of weeks, it went into my SI joints, and then it started affecting my ability to, get a shirt on, or to buckle my seatbelt, and to even bend over at times, or to put my shoes on. And so it turned from this like pretty bad, severe joint pain to, over a couple more weeks, to becoming debilitating. And at that point, I wasn't able to work. I wasn't able to roll over in bed. I couldn't get out of bed sometimes. My husband was carrying me to the bathroom, and I have never cried so much in my life. I was living a very healthy lifestyle. I was doing everything that I knew how to correct it, and I felt like my health continued to go downhill. At that point, I ended up getting imaging done, MRIs, and ended up, I spent the majority of it on and off over a summer up at Mayo Clinic, and was ultimately diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. So can any of you relate to that feeling, like back to where I felt like I didn't understand my health or what was going on with it? It was really scary, and when I was in the thick of it, I felt a lot of like sadness and a lot of fear. Can you relate to that? And I just worried, like, where is this going to go from here, and how is this going to affect, my future, and am I going to be able to do the things that are important to me. Because when it was bad, not only could I couldn't walk, but I couldn't hold my children. I felt like I couldn't even parent them, and it was a really scary time. And what happened is after I got the diagnosis, ultimately, I started diving in further into a branch of medicine called functional medicine. And I knew what it was, I just wasn't really familiar with all the ins and outs of it. So I started going to the functional medicine university, and ultimately I went on this road to recovery that was very specific to functional testing, blood tests, urine tests, stool cultures, and started to slowly regain my health. And I decided I've got to do this for more people. So here's my team. And without these guys, none of this would be possible. I mean, every one of these people, they go above and beyond. We've got 4 doctors total in the office, 2 that do functional medicine, and we have about 7 support staff. And these people work really, really hard, and not because I tell them to, but because they're really good people. And we really do believe that we have a calling to serve this community, to help others live their very best life, to raise our voices about what functional medicine is. And I'll go into that here in a little bit further, because if there's 100 of you out there, probably 99 of you don't know what functional medicine is. So we are on a mission to help others learn what their options are when it comes to healthcare, so they can truly take care of themselves and avoid ever having to continue to hurt and suffer, the way I know so many of you are currently, you maybe have in the past, or you're seeing family members or friends suffer. So let me start you on this journey. I want you to imagine, with me, I want you to imagine what your life is going to look like at, say, 70 years old, 80 years old, 90 years old, hey, even 100 years old. I mean, is it going to be the quality of life that you're looking for? Will you be strong, vital, full of energy? Will you be independent, free from needing others to care for you? Or will you be shuffling along a cabinet full of medications, or even worse, out of your mind in a nursing home, not aware of who you are, no memory of the people who love you? The truth is, today, we want to help you to construct the life you deserve by sharing with you these key questions that you need to ask yourself. There will be 5 of them in order to live the life you deserve. You're also going to learn the causes of death in the United States, the top 3 causes of death in the United States. And we're also going to show you how to prevent spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or going bankrupt on medical sick care, treating symptoms and disease. Because the truth is, the number 1 cause of bankruptcy in this country is medical related reasons. I mean, heck, as a country, we spend the largest amount of money on healthcare, over 50% more than our closest country. And if we're spending so much money, why aren't we getting healthier? Because the healthcare we have in this country really isn't healthcare, but disease and symptom management. We're the best in the world at this. If you get hit by a bus, if you have a heart attack or a stroke or fracture your arm, that type of care for acute cases like that, we're the best in the world. But when it comes to long-term health and vitality, we're really behind. And I heard a presentation by Warren Buffett. He was giving this presentation to some school kids, and he wanted the kids to imagine if they only had one car their entire life, and what would they do with that car? How would they take care of it? I mean, they probably, the kids were saying they keep it garaged, they want to make sure there's no dents or scratches, they're going to get it fixed right away. They would really baby and take care of the car because it has to last a lifetime. That is the exact position you are in concerning not just your body, but also your mind. You only get one mind, you get one body. It's got to last a lifetime. It's very easy to let things slide and to start to think that tomorrow is the better day, next week, or I'm waiting for the right time to make these changes. But if you had a vehicle you had to make last for a lifetime, you'd be taking care of it along the way, not waiting until it crashes and burns you. There's a problem. So what really is, and I want you to think about this really seriously and hear me, what is your most important asset? That's what you need to ask yourself in order to live the life you deserve. It's got to be your health. I mean, think about what goals you want to accomplish in, say, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20, or even 30. I think it's safe to say that you would have to carve out some time, maybe some extra money. But what is the one thing you would have to accomplish for any of those goals. You have to have your health. How many of you have really made your health your top priority? How much time do you spend working to improve your health? How much time do you spend thinking about ways to improve your health? I mean, do you take your health for granted? I know before I went through my health crisis, I did. I mean, I had no idea that something was brewing underneath the surface and that I would go through that health crisis. So it's important to take care of ourselves along the way. So what is health? That's the next question that I have. Have you ever thought about, like, what exactly is health? I mean, think in your head how you would answer that question if you're here in front of me right now. So many people actually get it wrong. I mean, they think that health is looking good or feeling good or not having pain or not having a disease. But the definition of true health from the World Health Organization says that health is the state of complete, now listen, complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It's not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. It's not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. It's 100% function. So this would mean if you smoke and drink every day but you feel and look great, I mean, are you healthy? Are you in a state of complete well-being 100%? Or what about the person who has no diseases, like takes no medications but is carrying around all the emotional stress of being abused and they can't ever let it go? Is that a state of complete well-being? Are they healthy? I mean, what about the person who looks great but they don't know that they have cancer? Are they healthy? See, we can't judge health on how we feel or how we look, but we can judge it on how we function. And it takes, when you think about illness or disease, it takes years to develop. It doesn't develop overnight. It's like neither does a cavity. It sometimes can take upwards of 20 years to develop heart disease. I mean, many types of cancer are thought to take several years to develop. Many of the diseases we see today start when we're young. I mean, not only young, but like invincible. You've all had that phone call from a friend or phone call hearing about a friend or a family member or a friend of a friend, that was healthy and died suddenly of a heart attack. So unfortunately, we're taught that a lack of symptoms is a determination of our health, but it's not. It's how our bodies are functioning and how close we are to functioning at 100%. So with functional medicine, we know, back to, I grew up anyways with the song, the knee bones connect to the hip bone. So your body is an interconnected set of organ systems. You're one integrated system that should be working in harmony to create optimal health for you. So we're not a separate set of organ systems that need to be divided among specialties. And the research proves this, physiology proves this. I mean, the neurotransmitters in your brain are made from your gut. Your hormones are eliminated and detoxified by your liver and your digestive system. So until we start to look at how the body is interconnected, interwoven, we'll continue to suffer. So it does, when you think about it this way, it does seem kind of weird, doesn't it, that we go to a cardiologist, a gastroenterologist, and a neurologist when all these things are occurring in the same body. We need to be as professionals, because we all can't know everything. You may need multiple doctors, but we need to start to build and create a system of intercommunicating doctors that are working together to help you live your best life. So in our current healthcare system, again, the symptoms, we're taught that you treat the symptoms or help comes in the form of a magic bullet, a pill for an ill mentality. If you have depression, you take an antidepressant. If you can't sleep, you take a sleep aid. If you have a headache, you might take a Tylenol. If you have heartburn, you might take an antacid or a TUM or omeprazole or something. The truth is 80% of Americans within the last 30 days have taken an over-the-counter or prescription medication. 1 to 3 of you will take cholesterol drugs, 1 to 3 will take high blood pressure medication, 1 in 6 will take a depression medication, 1 in 5 regularly take an allergy medication. So this may seem like a weird question, but if you think about this, is your depression caused because of a deficiency of Prozac? I mean, do you have a headache because of a deficiency of Tylenol or Excedrin? So why are we taking these things? Well, we're taking them because we're suffering. And these are solutions that in the short term can really help. But if 1 in 3 is going to have cancer and 1 in 3 is going to have heart disease, I mean, look to your left and look to your right. Which one of you is it? So we have to start to realize that those symptoms are really clues. They're your body's way of communicating with you that something is going wrong, that you need to change something, that we have to dig deeper to figure out what's happening. So this is where functional medicine really shines, is that we scour the research looking to discover the true cause of people's problems and discover what it's going to take to prevent the body from not functioning at 100%. So there is a lot of data out there showing how even dietary changes, nutraceuticals, actually can prevent suffering and help people heal. So this was a pretty cool study on Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and how diet can change that. This was one about asthma, the causes of asthma and the triggers. 1 in 12 have asthma, 1 in 3 have allergies, and how many children are suffering with asthma? I mean, who don't live up to their potential because of this terrible health condition, that go on continuing to eat these things, maybe not even being aware that there's anything different that they can do. So please, if while you're listening to this, you think of somebody or a name comes to mind, please share this information with them so they too can understand what their options are as far as taking care of their overall health. The British Journal of Psychiatry mentions vitamin D deficiency and a connection to depression. So here's the question though, if you have depression, do you run out and get vitamin D? I mean, you really need to be tested to determine if you have a deficiency, what level the deficiency is, so that you know you're supposed to take it, and you also know the right amount to take. So please don't start self-treating by, you can treat a pill for an ill with a medication, you can treat a pill for an ill with a vitamin. So I've seen patients come in here carrying bagfuls of vitamins, hoping that they're doing the natural, more holistic thing, but they're still symptom treating. We still have to understand where these symptoms are coming from and why they're there. The effect of vitamin A supplementation on thyroid function. So this is the big picture. If these root causes aren't being addressed and they're ignored, I can tell you that we're going to be missing things. If you have a symptom and the testing that they're doing continually comes out normal and the doctor says, good news, you're fine, but you're still suffering, something is wrong. More testing needs to be done. You need to dig deeper. Just because test results in your doctor's office do come out okay, that doesn't mean that you necessarily are okay. If you have a symptom, you've got to find the right doctor to do the proper testing to get to the underlying cause. So, I mean, if you came for me, and back to doctors, we all only know what we know. I don't know everything. I mean, if you came to me and you said, hey, what antibiotic is best used for staph infection? I'm the wrong doctor. So we need to make sure that we're asking, and conversely, sorry not to jump around, but conversely, if you asked your doctor, how many phases of detoxification are there and how do you enhance phase 2? They probably couldn't tell you. And it's not that they're a bad doctor, it's not that I'm a bad doctor. So please don't be angry at your different doctors. Just understand what they're trained to do and what they're really good at, so you know that you're reaching to the right doctor for the questions that you have. So standard lab testing looks like this. We're going to do the lab testing that zeroes in and looks at disease and illness in the body. Functional testing looks a little bit deeper. We look at things like toxins, nutrient status, food sensitivities, microbiome, which is your gut, inflammation, autoimmunity, hormone imbalance, to get you to the green, to get you to optimal health. So we're going to discuss 2 of the most common causes of suffering that I see in my office every day. So inflammation and the different causes of it. So to review the questions, again, that you need to answer in order to live the life you deserve and have the health and life that you want, what is your most important asset? What exactly is health? What causes the loss of function? In other words, What keeps us from living our lives to our fullest potential? I mean, there's several different root causes for today's seminar that I'm going to share with you, but what I believe is the most common and the simplest thing to discover is autoimmunity. So there are over 100 autoimmune conditions. It's really a growing list, and the tragic thing is most people can't even name one. So what happens with autoimmunity is the immune system starts attacking its own tissues. You know, you think about the job of the immune system, it's to fight off bacteria, viruses, parasites, you know, things that aren't supposed to be in the body. This is when the immune system starts to attack the tissues of the body. So it does affect about 12 to 20% of the population. 24 to 50 million Americans, you know, it's more common than heart disease and cancer combined. It's the #1 leading cause of death for young and middle-aged women, you know, over the age or under the age of 65. And many people are still not even aware, you know, not even diagnosed. And unfortunately, it takes kind of the persistence of the patient and years to actually get the right test to get the diagnosis. But before this, you know, sadly, oftentimes these people with autoimmunity are just labeled like chronic complainers until, you know, they're actually validated with testing. So let's talk about the first hidden stressor, inflammation. Inflammation is one of those things that when it comes to symptoms, because inflammation is on a cellular level, it can show up with things like fatigue, you know, even anxiety or depression, joint pain, problems falling asleep or staying asleep, heavy menstrual cycles, clots, long cycles, you know, PMS, headaches or migraines, just not feeling good. You know, a slow metabolism. It's really considered to be kind of the secret killer. You know, it's something that in the long term, if you have inflammation, it can lead to cardiovascular disease, stroke, you know, Alzheimer's, dementia, we now know even cancer. So it's kind of, when you have inflammation on a cellular level, it just boils down to kind of a chronic, you know, I don't feel good itis or unwell-itis. Your cells should look like the left-hand side. They should be nice and round and smooth. And when they're bombarded with toxins or free radicals, it's kind of like throwing, you know, rocks at your car. It dents them. It roughens up the surface of the cell. The cell oftentimes will even swell. You know, that's inflammation. You can measure this. Causes of inflammation can range from various foods to nutritional deficiencies, hidden infections, autoimmune disease, hormone imbalance, you know, and even toxins. So looking at the gastrointestinal system, this is where your immune system comes from. This is where the neurotransmitters for your brain come from, and this is where the nutrients, you know, those cells need in order to function come from. So the gastrointestinal system should be like that left-hand side. It should be nice, tight junctions. Everywhere there's a GI tube, there's a blood tube that follows it. So if you start to get debris, like leaky gut, where you see, you know, these cells start to break open, it actually can leak debris particles and waste into the bloodstream, basically fecal matter into the bloodstream. These openings of those tight junctions can lead to nutrient malabsorption. That's the #1 cause of autoimmunity, is leaky gut or hyperpermeability. Food intolerance, because you're leaking whole food particles before they've even been broken down properly, and overall systemic inflammation. This was a patient of ours that had rosacea, eczema, you know, thyroid problems. Her cholesterol was over 300, and her CRP, which is her inflammation marker, was through the roof. This is the test you see in front of you is actually a delayed food sensitivity test. It looks to see what foods that she's eating that could cause a delayed immune response and potentially inflammation. So the scale is 0 being no effect, 1 being mild, 2 being moderate, 3 being severe. So as you can see, she's eating foods which cause a lot of immune response and inflammation. And I want you to know, I don't think that asparagus is unhealthy, but what we're seeing is her intestines are leaking large particles of food into her bloodstream and causing this sort of response. So interestingly enough, migraines and asthma can be related to an inflammatory episode of an immune system. So we take her off these foods, we put her on a specific protocol to heal her gut, and 4 months later, this is what we see. So you can see that her immune system is calming down, her gut is much healthier, and her skin actually cleared up, and her thyroid did much better at the end of those 4 months. So she made a drastic change. The average woman actually does use about 168 chemicals per day in her self-care regimen. So what are the effects of toxic overload on the body? It can cause problems with your nerves, even memory issues or depression and anxiety, troubles falling asleep or staying asleep, dizziness, headaches, heart palpitations, skin, whatever happens on the skin, we always think kind of it's a reflection of the liver and the gut. With toxins, we can see irritation of the eyes or even liver problems in and of itself, abdominal pain, chronic fatigue, diarrhea, chronic ongoing clearing of the throat or little coughs. Toxins can even be hormone disruptors. So when you think about what we're exposed to and where toxins come from, it doesn't have to just be self-care products. It could be from food, from pesticides, herbicides, vaccinations, pollution, medications, water, air, etc. I mean, we know that toxins have been linked to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, mood disorders, immune issues, and so on and so forth. So complications of poor detoxification. I mean, you're going to get not only brain toxicity, but body toxicity. So varying functions of the brain can be affected, from, concentration to even bigger issues like Alzheimer's or dementia, insomnia, waking up at 3:30, taking an hour to fall back asleep. Systemically, we can see just pain and hormonal imbalance, bowel or gut issues, allergies, again, skin issues, elevated cholesterol, inflammation, and that's why it's so important that you're testing. Every time you get tested, you need to get two very important tests done, a CRP and a homocysteine. So hidden infections, that is another problem that's going to affect you, and this could range from yeast, bacterial infections or overgrowth, parasites, or even a virus that maybe you had mono when you were in high school, and now it can be a reactivated virus or even a recent one. So people can be walking around with these, but for various reasons, they're just not being tested. These hidden infections can show up with a variety of symptoms, from anxiety and depression to aches and pains to fatigue to nutritional deficiencies to any sort of gut issues, or I was fine eating that food, years ago, now I can't eat that, or I can't eat that food, but now I can't eat that, and I feel like I can't eat anything. So let's recap the two most common health threats: inflammation and hidden infections. I want you to meet this patient. Sharon, when she first came in, she was 59 years old, married, the mom of 2 girls. She did have a history of breast cancer. She had a hysterectomy. She'd had carpal tunnel surgery on both arms. She had high cholesterol levels, and her symptoms were fatigue, weakness. She hurt all over. She had reflux, allergies, and she was depressed. So she was prescribed thyroid medications, 2 depression medications, and cholesterol meds. Over the counter, she also took on top of that reflux medications, allergy meds, and pain meds. She was $60,000 in medical debt, and over $400,000 for care had been paid by her insurance company. Not to mention, the hours that she missed from work, the countless nights where she laid in bed at night worrying about dying and leaving her family behind, the meals that she missed because she didn't want to sit at the table, she was hurting too bad, the conversations that she opted out of because she didn't feel like it. Here's the first test that we did on her. So you can see on the top, these are the thyroid antibodies. She's alarm stage high. That means she has Hashimoto's. She has an autoimmune disorder that's attacking her thyroid. Her inflammation levels, that's the CRP that you see the third line down, that shouldn't go over 1. Anything over 2 doubles your risk of a heart attack or a stroke. So you can see, and homocysteine shouldn't go over 6, and she's double that. So that's another inflammation marker. So you can see this is not a pretty picture. So no wonder she was suffering and she didn't feel good. We put her on a program of care with specific nutraceuticals. We did additional testing like this. This was a stool culture. So you see she's very high in bacteria in her stool culture. And once we started tackling that high bacteria as well as the other areas of her body, this was her after. So the top is her before and the after is below. So she's put one of her antibodies into remission. She does still have a little bit of inflammation and a little bit of antibodies, although that's almost in remission. So yeah, she has a little bit more work to do, but that was in a 4-month span of time. You can see how much better her body is functioning. And she said she feels like she was given a new life, that everything changed for her over that period of time. So now what? I mean, now what does she do? Imagine had she known about these conditions 25 years ago, I mean, what would that have meant for her? Would she have had all the same problems that she had when she came into us? Would she have had to suffer as much as she did? So what, after getting these results, I guess, and the levels are looking good, I mean, do we stop caring for her until she has those problems again? I mean, remember, that's the old model. You feel good, you are good. But with functional medicine, it states that you feel good. Let's check your levels and make sure that you are indeed good. That even though you're feeling good, the function of your body is staying stable. So for our patients, it's not just about getting well, it's about staying well. We have had countless patients who have fallen by the side because they didn't keep their health their top priority. They don't treat their newfound health as the most important asset, and we can't do the hard work for you. We want to be your guides and your mentors. I mean, for as long as you'll have us. So here's the big question. I hope you know the answer by now. How do you know? How do you know if you have any of these things going on? You've got to test. You've got to find a functional medicine doctor, somebody that's willing to really dig up the root cause of these problems. And if you would like to come into our office and have us help you, or at least sit down for a no obligation, no charge consultation, you're welcome to. We'll review your full medical history. I want to know where you've been, what you've been through, what you've done. I want to know how you're feeling currently, and I want to know what your goals are. Then we can determine exactly what tests we need to do and kind of give you a general care outline. So the first test we typically start with is our full comprehensive testing. It'll be the most extensive test you've ever had done. All testing is done at cost, and that test can range, when we do the full comprehensive, between about $250 and $500. Typically it is just $259 unless we add a few additional tests on. So we usually just run one, but once in a while, again, on that first visit, it might be two. Second visit, we go back through your medical history, we review those goals that we established on the first visit, and we determine if we can help you. So listen, guys, you need to know that not every patient, we're not the right doctor for every patient. So we've got to sit down with you and have a full understanding of your past, your present, and your goals, get the testing to determine the next best step for you. And I promise, if we can help you, we'll tell you. If we can't, we're going to tell you that too and get you exactly where you need to go. We do typically order, after that full comprehensive test, maybe 1 or 2 additional tests. And then again, we go over your specific care frequency and the cost of care. So we initially see patients over a 4 to 6 month period of time. And over that period of time, we usually see patients every 2 to 4 weeks. During that time, we also give you unlimited email and text support between visits. We have wellness workshops and grocery store tours and cooking classes, lifestyle coaching. There's a cookbook and a journal. There's videos to watch. Our brand of care is a little bit different. We do give you homework. We give you things to do at home. We give you detailed dietary changes, customized supplementation formulations, and obviously at the end we retest. So people do always ask, if it's covered by insurance. Well, we have to remember that insurance is designed to pay for medical care. I mean, does this look like medical care? But ultimately, this just isn't what medical insurance was designed to pay for. It was designed to pay for medical care. And lifestyle, supplements, dietary changes isn't in the insurance book of items deemed medical care. So now some of the testing can be actually offset with insurance, so it can help a little. And we do offer payment programs from a company called Care Credit that can make your care really affordable. But ultimately, your choice to be a patient isn't dictated by an insurance company, but by your choice, which leads us to the final question. What does it cost? And I love this question because in reality, and this may sound funny, but listen hard, in reality it doesn't cost anything if done correctly. It saves you money, time, energy, and suffering to care for yourself properly. So think about your retirement. I mean, does it cost you to save money? No, it's an investment that grows over time and earns interest. Well, for every bit of money you spend on yourself staying healthy and well, it will result in a better life, less medical expenses, and possibly help you even earn more money because of longevity and increased work performance. So how much does disease cost? I mean, the average diabetic will spend $100,000 on top of their Medicare for more than a non-diabetic after 65 years old. I mean, how much is insurance costing us? How much do we pay every single month? When spending money on traditional health care, it's a cost because we don't actually get healthier. This is the definition by Medicare. Care that is paid for by your insurance company is care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health. Wait, let me back up. I'm not saying that right. Medicare states this. Care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, and prolong and enhance the quality of life is not considered to be medically necessary. It's not going to be paid for by your insurance company. So this leads us to the fifth question. You have to ask yourself, in order to be healthy, when are you going to make your health your top priority? I mean, you can wait to make changes when you're in a state of desperation, sickness, pain, or some sort of health crisis, or you can decide to make a change and be inspired to self-preserve and to take care of this body that you've been gifted. And regardless of what situation you're in, it's going to take the mindset that your health really should come first, that it's your most important asset. You can continue to act like everyone else in this society. You know, the average person, I hear that a lot. Well, I'm not as bad as, you know, my coworker. I'm not as bad as my brother. I'm not as bad as this next person. Or you can choose, you can do that, or you can choose to be different. You can take charge of your health. You can make a commitment. You can promise to make a decision that you put your health first. And I promise you, you're not going to regret it. Regrets don't, when patients do things to be healthier, they don't ever say, oh geez, I wish I wouldn't have done that. The regrets come off of the things that we don't do when we know we should have done them earlier. So the decisions you make today affect your tomorrow. We're going to offer you an opportunity to schedule with one of our doctors where you can come in again. The consultation portion is free, but please don't feel obligated to schedule an appointment because you're listening to this. We only have limited spots right now. We are going on a wait list routinely, and we want to make sure that the spots that we have are taken with people who are ready to take their health to the next level and who are ready to make their health their priority. So in closing, I want to thank you for being here. Just the fact that you're here alone shows that you want to do something different. And maybe it's not for you. Maybe you want to help a loved one, a family member, a friend make a change that's necessary. Just know that you can get well, you can get healthy, and I'd be happy to help you in any way that I can. Thanks for attending.